So really the bigger play for us is actually working with people, helping them grow, and us actually investing in brands and buying those brands. That's kind of our interest in like, hey, let's help these guys grow the right way, like legitimately.
Hey everyone, this is Nazar Akil from Max Pro.
Hi, I'm Linda.
And I'm Paul.
And we're Love and Pebbles.
Hi, this is Lopa Vandermersch from Rasa.
Oh, you're listening to...
And you're listening to the E-Comm Show.
Welcome to the E-Comm Show, presented by BlueTuskr, the #1 place to hear the inside scoop from other e-commerce experts, where they share their secrets on how they scaled their business and are now living the dream. Now, here is your host, Andrew Maff.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the E-Comm Show. I'm your host, Andrew Maff, and today I'm joined by the amazing Jamie Davidson, the founder of AMZ Insiders. Jamie, how you doing? Ready for a good show?
I am. Appreciate you having me.
Not a problem. Super excited to have you on the show. You are very well known in the industry. You are obviously an Amazon just expert is an understatement. Let's do the stereotypical thing. Give you a second here. Why don't you let everyone know a little about yourself, your background, and we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah, sure. No, I appreciate, again, the intro there. So Jamie Davidson, co-founder of AMZ Insiders. Basically myself, we had two co-founders, partners Jason and Brad. We started selling on Amazon around 2011, 2012. So now it's kind of like the old days. But yeah, so, I'm sure we'll get into some of that. But we grew really quickly, and it was a different landscape back then. But and then we started, continue to sell through today. And then we've started doing some coaching and consulting, helping people in some big companies around 2017 through today. So yeah, just passionate about the space, and again, appreciate the opportunity to be here with you.
Yeah, beautiful. Likewise. So you had your own brand, started that in 2011. You said you're still selling today, correct?
Yeah. So that was like 2011. Actually, my partner Jason was my next door neighbor. I was like a COO of this private equity deal. It brought me to Atlanta, and he was selling out of the garage, which I'm in our garage. I'm going back to the beginnings in a garage right now because we're in the process of moving. But with that, or we just moved, we're in a temporary space. But anyways, yeah. So he started doing it. Well, we both had kind of corporate jobs, and basically, I didn't take it that seriously at first. I thought it was kind of a side hustle a little bit. Until I started seeing like the garage filling up with a lot of cell phone accessories. And so it started getting my interest about how legitimate this was. I kind of compared it, was like, is this like an eBay or just selling stuff, which frankly himself, Jason would say that he first got in Amazon to replace his wife's income when she was staying home, which was about $90K a year. And then when it blew past there, both Brad and myself got more took it more seriously, and we got really more involved the following year with an investment, and the company's grown. Now it's about 220 employees and about 2,000 different SKUs that we sell across the globe.
So long time since the original garage days. Granted, you're in there now. Yeah. So I mean, to get to that size is not an easy feat by any chance. Now, don't get me wrong. You obviously got in at the right time, right as this was the whole Amazon thing started taking off. What do you think was kind of the thing that allowed you guys to scale to that size?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's because now, like when we help a lot of people, I think it is pretty hard to do both, like the scale from like 0 to 5 million, kind of the skill set. Mm-hmm. Most people probably don't. It's not the same skill set to try to take that from 5 million to we broke 100 million in end of 2018. Like that skill set was, I'd say, is not typical. Now that I've been helping enough other people, the good thing is you don't need to be. You can hand it off and sell it to someone else and take a big payday. But that being said, there was a couple things that helped early on. One, my partner Jason was a IT consultant. I'm pretty analytically focused, so we were pretty kind of systems oriented from the beginning. So, to go to that scale, like to go to 0 to 25 million in a handful of years, we had an advantage that we did have kind of structures and systems that we put in place from day one, because we kind of knew that from our corporate backgrounds. the other thing, kind of mentally, we went all in. Like once we realized the potential of this, because in some ways it was harder for us to start because we each had families, we each had like high paying corporate jobs. So like the opportunity cost of our time was like already pretty high. So it was harder unless we really saw the opportunity. So, which we did. And once we did, we kind of went all in. So one of the things, like a lot of people get distracted with other opportunities and different things. I compare it now the last couple of years I've seen, with no judgment, but a lot of people ran over to crypto and NFTs and everything else, which for us were kind of like, for better or worse, we stay really focused on kind of one thing. We only sold one brand, one category of products for like 7 years before we ever ventured out, even though we could have. But my partner Brad had the phrase, I liked it, was we considered it a crime against ourselves not to put every dollar we had back into our endeavor, because we saw the return we were getting with what we were doing in this in the Amazon space. So those were a couple of things. We just stayed like pretty aggressively focused on that one thing, kind of one category for frankly a number of years. Now people build brands and sell them in a year or two. They can do pretty well. But yeah, those were a couple of our things that I think helped us from the beginning.
Is it private label or are you reselling?
Yeah, so we only do private label. So yeah, our thing is Amazon private label, mostly primarily FBA. We do have a big warehouse down the road that we do fulfill some of our own products, but primarily we try to use Amazon, and we sell across the globe. So we're trying to use Amazon FBA as much as possible.
So you're very catered to Amazon, obviously, because we'll get into AMZ Insiders, and that's been the main topic we've gone through so far. Have you ventured out of Amazon and gone the route of starting your own website or going to a Walmart or eBay?
Yeah. I mean, 100%. At our size, I mean, we do sell on, I think it's probably 40 other platforms now. We've had our website for the longest time. For us, because of the value of Amazon, for us to get ranked, for example, in the cell phone accessory space, it's very, very competitive, but can be, very lucrative if you rank for the keywords. And so the good and the bad of this business is the good is that there's always a new product, right? There's always a new iPhone that's coming out, like in September will be announced, so there's constantly new product. But with that, we also have to re-rank this new product constantly. And so for us, as much as, we have our own website and the margin percentage is good, the profitability is good, but we still prefer to get the key rank and the traffic over to Amazon, because that is so much more important to us. But that being said, different times, different platforms do well. We have a whole separate team that kind of manages through like Channel Advisor, through all these other platforms. It's not, like Walmart, there's pros and cons of these other platforms. I mean, when you get good enough at the one platform, I do recommend, I don't consider it personally my expertise, but I know from our team, like, for example, I think Target.com's done really well for us more recently, probably even more so than Walmart, for example. So yeah, there's definitely those opportunities. Just kind of back to my beginning, I would say don't chase too many things at once until you get pretty good at the one platform. But yeah, I mean, to that point though, it's not that it's funny, even though we do so much on Amazon, it's not that we're Amazon centric or believe in Amazon. Amazon's just the distribution channel that allows you to get your product. It's the most powerful distribution channel, but frankly, there's other distribution channels. And in the future, if that changes in bigger ways to one of these other platforms, then, we'll migrate to those other channels as well.
Yeah. So to be a co-founder of an e-commerce brand that's cleared 100 million a year, which is not an easy feat to do, why get into AMZ Insiders? So what encouraged you to start consulting and offering assistance to other sellers?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's one that we get a decent amount. It's an interesting one. When I was in the private equity space or running these companies, actually, I was in these were like for-profit education companies. I was like a CEO of one. I was a CEO of a language learning company. So I was familiar with kind of the training and education space on the profit side. And I was in banking and military. I was a military officer back in the early days. So I had kind of that was a little bit of my background. So when we were in the space, I was first of all, I was seeing all of these things pop up, these guys talking about the business. And we were like, who the heck are these guys? Like, we know a lot of the big players in the space or bigger sellers. And when I saw more and more people, I was like, oh, some of these guys are really just marketers that are good marketers, but they really don't know much about Amazon. So from that perspective, we said, oh, we actually know what we're doing. Let's like leverage our team. We've got a lot of expertise. Like we can help people. We've got a 20 person logistics team in Shenzhen, China. We can help people, coach people. And then if they potentially plug them into our services, like, shipping, for example, is one, and potentially account management. But we weren't sure anyways. We weren't sure the pros and cons of it. So we just thought it was, it made sense. There's a growing community, and Amazon itself we have friends at Amazon. We spend time at Amazon offices out in Seattle, but they're not really the experts on selling on Amazon. They're experts on their job at Amazon, but they don't know the seller's perspective. So, but from a business perspective, the one that kind of emerged for us was this opportunity we had this idea a few years back, with the whole industry kind of blew up the last couple of years, which is kind of these aggregators and investing in brands. So really the bigger play for us is actually working with people, helping them grow, and us actually investing in brands and buying those brands ourselves. So that's kind of our interest in, like, hey, let's help these guys grow the right way, like legitimately. And, not everyone gets there, but those that get to, a couple million, 3 million, that, as opposed to throwing them out to whoever, let us take an investment in them and help grow, and we'll take a majority stake. And if they want to stay on, they can profit from us growing it, using kind of our infrastructure as is.
Yeah. I was saying, the thing that I've noticed that's your biggest differentiator versus all those others, especially the ones you just mentioned, is these coaches / quote unquote gurus. Mm-hmm. A lot of them, I can't go on any social media platform without getting hit by several of their ads. And you're right, they're mostly marketers. And the interesting thing is that I've always found is a lot of them are pitching, start selling on Amazon and how to make, $10,000 a month or something. I'm like, okay, yeah, but you factor in your costs and stuff like that. It's really not that much, but not knocking anyone who wants to do it. But you're the first one I've seen who has gotten to this level and then still offered this consulting side of things. Because once you get even over 8 figures, typically they're like, I don't need to help people. They'll figure it out, and they walk away. So it's very interesting that you chose to continue down that route.
Yeah. I mean, it's along the lines that we said, just because it's interesting. Our original Amazon brand, first of all, it's a different world than how you build a brand now, in terms of, first of all, it was like the wild, wild west. And my 2 partners are native Chinese, and it was like, we can run this business the American way or the Chinese way, but it was like super aggressive, like cell phone accessories. So we had the hardest core black hat techniques you would have out there, like all sorts of, things that we would never recommend doing today. But frankly, that was the world. We would tell Amazon, if we followed all your guys' rules, we wouldn't have, the business. And they were like, we know, but they've caught up over the years. And so, now it's much more about brand building and kind of doing it the right way, which is good, because it's hard to come up with all these crazy systems and computers. I mean, it's insane, this type of stuff that, people will come up with to kind of game the system back then. But it's good. You don't have to do that as much now. But like I said, the ability to acquire other brands and that's a whole nother level, because that's you can grow to $1 billion there. And it's not just us. I mean, I've got buddies in the space. I have a few other 9-figure. This guy, Ashley Thompson's really successful. He just exited last year. And my buddy, Carlos Alvarez, is really same thing. Another 9-figure guy who does a great job in the community. So, there's other people out there, but, people don't realize, some of the bigger opportunities really are, acquiring brands and doing that. And so for us, the other thing too, is most of the people, like I just mentioned, I could, for me, guys like Dima Kubrick and a buddy of mine who sold 5 brands, the way I've gotten to know them is actually through this, because we go speak at events and we go this. So in the past, we never did any of this. We kind of stayed in our warehouse. We went back and forth to China. But now that we've kind of opened it up a little bit, we've, the connections you make at these events and software companies, it's kind of that, for us, it helps because that next level to grow, because kind of nothing lasts forever, with your brand. So, we're always looking for these next opportunities as well.
Yeah. Do you strictly use AMZ Insiders as opportunity to essentially find these brands that you kind of want to help them build themselves a little bit, and then obviously get involved, whether it's an investment or an acquisition? Or is it more of anyone who wants the assistance can obviously sign up, and then those just kind of happen?
Yeah, great question. It's a little bit the latter, in terms of it's a wide kind of funnel. We didn't, in terms of, we have people that just start. Like we have a woman who started with us a year ago. What was it? No, about a year ago, March, and she grew past $1 million. She got started doing 300,000 by like 4 or 5 months in per month, and we're like, wow. So this is great. Now, what you learn is it's not the magic just of the information and coaching. It's also like, oh, she's a really good executor. She owns 3 other businesses. And so she has the ability to take information really quickly and like take action. So she's an example like, oh, let's partner together. Let's bring her aboard. Her name is Joey Roberts for people that now Instagram, like, we've pulled her more in because like that's not everybody, right? Other people, it takes a lot longer. Other people, aren't as successful or they don't get going. So yeah, there's a little bit of that. There's a little bit of a funnel, but certainly people that come through, it gives us access because these big investors like the aggregators, the hardest thing for them is actually to find the deals. They can raise the money. They're really good at raising all this capital, but to actually find good brands. But for us, we kind of get to know the people running the brands, or we're helping them. And if we think we can, it makes sense for us to partner, then we can. But at the beginning, we don't really know that, so we just kind of put out there. We try to vet people coming through to make sure that they're serious. But it's a little bit of a funnel that comes through.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to all come down to like the quality of the product. So when you have these initial, discovery calls or anything like that with these people you're going to be working with, do you go through and actually like review the product and just let them know, be like, hey, I can probably help you get to here, but you may not be able to get further based on the quality of your product? Or do you think that there's a way to kind of manipulate that whole process regardless?
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I think it's two. One is sometimes people don't have products. They're just like Joey didn't have a product, or she was in the process of figuring it out. And, but we're like, yeah, we can help you. There's, that we can help you get started. And then she was off and running. So we'll help them through that process. Like, hey, give us 5. We'll help, I got a team of people who help vet it just using the criteria that we do.
Okay.
And then, but, as far as people like, yeah, sometimes we have people that, let's say they're doing 2-3 million a year, maybe sometimes, a little bit more, we'll just look. So a lot of times those people are like, they just have like one pain point. Like once in a while we'll have let's say it's a family owned business, but like they only have that. And they're like, oh, we want to launch new products, but we've never done new products and new categories. We sell on Amazon. So it's like, okay, we can help you with that. Sometimes it's like, hey, I've got this, this makeup brand that's doing really well. And, but we're not great with our PPC and how to rank it right now. Can you help us with that? So sometimes those are kind of it's a lot of fun helping those people, because those people you help fix 1 or 2 things, their business does really well. When you get kind of more broadly teaching everyone, it's a little bit more hit or miss for people that, and again, I say hit or miss, it's more because we don't know the entrepreneur necessarily. And again, a big factor of this is whether it's Amazon or anything is just what is the self-discipline of the entrepreneur? What's the hustle? If they run into roadblocks like everyone does in these businesses, how do they handle those things? So, we try to help people through that, but that's going to differ by the operator.
So I sign up for AMZ Insiders. Great. Awesome. Welcome. What happens next? Like, what's that whole process like?
Yeah, sure. So, people, basically there's a call where we do a call, and just like we were talking about a moment ago, and just learning about where they're at, what they're looking to get to. And then we just have a discussion to see if we're a good fit. And people are surprised. There was someone I talked to earlier this week that, I sold a company for 100 million and now I'm doing this, doing that. But there are certain type of people who are like, I don't think they're going to be a good fit, because it's our time too. Like it's, we want to find people that genuinely are a good fit. And usually that means like, hey, they're coachable. They're willing to, learn. And, we think they'll be a good fit. So it's along those aspects. Basically, when they get started, it's for us in terms of like when we got into this, in terms of actually people learning the business, I thought we didn't want to do like a course or whatever, because information's fine, but it doesn't really help. So we have, or it doesn't help enough in my opinion. So basically ours is a coaching program. We've got a team of coaches. I am involved in it. Usually once a week, I'll do like a live training. We'll have one of the cool things going to all these events, we'll go and find like the best presenters or my best peers in the industry, and we'll bring them in. Because like you said, it's not about being a guru or, no one knows everything, but, we feel we have good access to the top people. So we'll bring them in. And, but basically people have access. Like if you were there, like Andrew working on, you have the ability to reach out to us like on a daily basis for information and questions, specific to your business. And then we just, help people, and, depending how long they want to work with us, we just have different options. So yeah, that's really the model, is just like, hey, here's information. Here's some other people in the industry. Here's what's good. But then also let's tailor it to where you're at and need, and we'll help you as much as we can, kind of one-on-one.
Yeah. So who is a good fit? You mentioned that sometimes there's people that just aren't. What kind of constitutes a good fit for AMZ Insiders?
Yeah, for us, it is, it's interesting. There's several different people we've worked with, but Joey's a good example because she's just like, self-motivated. She was ready to get after it. And there's several others. Like, again, she had no prior experience, but most of the people we work with are probably, I didn't know this, they're probably like, being older in the 40s, like I tend to attract, I don't get as many like 20-year-olds. Once in a while we will, but it's probably someone a little bit more, I say our typical person has been working a corporate job, and maybe they don't want to quit it yet, but maybe they have, dreams or they hopes of having it so they can still work it and build this business. So it's probably more of that, people that are not selling already, but there's a good number of people that are probably, hey, I've been selling for a while, but it's not quite working. I'm doing a few $100,000. Can you help us? So again, we help these bigger sellers as well too. I just say it's not as those are more one-offs as well too. But yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that is that it's the same way I view myself. Like if I want to learn podcasting, right? You're really good at podcasting. Like I would be willing to hire you and pay, whatever the reasonable amount is, so I could learn quickly and do it. I was asking you before this, what software is this? So, you kind of have to have that mindset of learning. If I'm like, there are some people that kind of have a lot of excuses and like, this doesn't work and I need you to show me exactly how to do it. So basically we want some people with some initiative and that are, serious about it. If that's the case, then there's no guarantee anyone's going to be successful. But, I think the odds are pretty good if, you kind of get into that circle of people that know it takes some work and it's not easy. But, if you can overcome the obstacles and you think you can be passionate about the space and excited about your product, then, we can help you do pretty well.
Nice. So a question, Amazon specific, they've started to release, they're beta releasing stuff all the time, constantly testing new things. A couple of things that came to mind is, I'm always talking about that buy with Prime button and how it's interesting how they're trying to take some traffic from Shopify sellers, or obviously anyone who's got their own site, or they now have the like the early release, like invitation kind of thing that they're allowing now, where it's almost like early purchasing, allowing for kind of like new releases and stuff like that, which I think they were testing with Nike or something, or PlayStation, I think.
Oh yeah.
Where do you see Amazon headed over the next several years? I mean, you've seen it change over the past 10. So what do you think is going to happen next?
Yeah. I mean, one of the first things that comes to mind is that, people see change, especially people that are newer in the space the last year or two, or maybe they've been a couple of years, they'll see a change and they're like, this is a major change. And they're like, oh no, therefore it's no longer good. And I tend to find that's more about the entrepreneur, that they're like fearful or almost looking for a way out at times, or almost it's a little bit of self-destruction for themselves. Like, oh, reviews change. Now I can't, now it's a different place, which the reality is that's been going on since like 2014, 15, 16. I mean, back used to be allowed to have people write like bogus reviews for you as long as they notated their, that this in exchange for, I wrote this review in exchange for a product, whatever. So Amazon realized like that's garbage. So things constantly change. So one thing is just, understand that that's fine. Like that's why we think we're pretty good. The ability and the people I know in the space that do the best are just like very comfortable with the platform changing and recognize it's still relative. I mean, it's early. I mean, 30 years from now, we'll look back and go, wow, that back in the 2020s, that was like the early days of the platform. So that being said, I mean, people don't realize how much Amazon is competing with these other platforms at times. They think of like Amazon as this behemoth. They don't realize that, traffic, like things like Instagram and TikTok and, certainly other e-commerce platforms, but these are all kind of threats to them, right? So someone having, their e-commerce ability on Instagram or on Twitter, or I think there was talk like Netflix was going to incorporate. There's a lot of different angles where, there's access to customers. So with that in mind, I mean, I tend to see that with Amazon. Like, for example, and Amazon's not great at it, but when you see trends like on the digital marketing side, let's say TikTok, Instagram, for the last several years, anything live related. So like Amazon Live is a pretty good opportunity for the last several years, because Amazon doesn't want all of this traffic and people time spending on these other social media platforms that they like traffic coming in from these other sources, but they also want to own a lot of that traffic. And so that's why you can look for those things, like I said, Instagram Live or Instagram Posts, which is kind of Amazon's poor man version of Instagram. Although Instagram is now more focused on videos, but back when Instagram was more image focused. So try to take advantage of some of those features, because just like any of these other platforms, let's say Instagram is really big on, reels and video because they're competing with TikTok. Well, when you see these things, that these new programs, Amazon is doing it not just because they're trying to be nice. It's like they're trying to compete. So it's just like internationally, when Amazon, if you go to sell internationally, Amazon, like, they're the nicest people in the world. They're going to like help get you started. They're going to do this for you, that for you. Mm-hmm. It's because they're trying to compete. Like internationally, they're not the big player. A lot of times they're smaller in these markets. So, but yeah, I would try to take advantage. Like Instagram Live is probably a good example of one that, I'd recommend people to invest time to understand and realize that you don't have to do it yourself too. You can get like an influencer, but it's a lot of organic traffic that you can drive, using, these type of services.
Beautiful. Jamie, really appreciate you having on the show. I would love to obviously give you an opportunity here, let everyone know where they can find out more about you and obviously AMZ Insiders.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I appreciate it, Andrew. This is really, it's been a lot of fun. I'm going to try a thing. I did this one other time on channel. I actually worked, but I'm going to give my real cell phone number. And this isn't like I'm going to give my real cell phone number. The best way will be to text me, because actually I don't take the calls typically, because if I don't recognize it. But if you have a question, just legitimately have a question and want some help, you can text me, or you can try to call, but text, I'll actually respond. 404-275-8643 is my number. So 404-275-8643 is my actual cell. I like to do that with audiences that I think I trust and is good. So I've enjoyed this conversation. AMZ Insiders are probably most on Instagram. So what am I? JamieDavidson.official. So if you want to reach out there, we do a lot of content and stuff there. Those are good things. But happy to get people resources. We've got we have something called our AMZinsiders.club, which is just like $1. It's just a few bucks that you can get in. And we've got a few hundred entrepreneurs for those that are like, hey, I can't, I don't have the 10,000 to start building my brand yet, but I'd love to connect and work. So a few options, but yeah, feel free to text or connect via Instagram.
Beautiful. We'll put the number in the show notes too, so make life a little bit easier. But obviously, Jamie, thanks for being on the show. Everyone who tuned in, of course, thank you as well. Please make sure you do the usual rate, review, subscribe, all that fun stuff on whichever podcast platform you want, or YouTube, or head over to ecommshow.com and we'll all be there for you. But as usual, really appreciate you joining us, and we'll see you all next time. Have a good one.
Thank you for tuning in to the E-Comm Show. Head over to ecommshow.com to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform or on the BlueTuskr YouTube channel. The E-Comm Show is brought to you by BlueTuskr, a full-service digital marketing company specifically for e-commerce sellers looking to accelerate their growth. Go to BlueTuskr.com now for more information. Make sure to tune in next week for another amazing episode of the E-Comm Show.